Last night we had a meetup and we had a lot of new investors who were there. And they were asking a lot of questions about finding properties and getting funding and a whole bunch of things. And so today I wanted to create a video kind of focused on answering some of those questions that they had in a way to where it organizes a step-by-step process in helping new investors get started investing in real estate. My name is Shiloh Lundahl, and this is the Improved channel focused on real estate investing. So a great way to get started in real estate investing is to break down the different steps and then focus on getting better at each of those steps. So I'm gonna make it easy because the first 5 steps all start with the letter F. Step number 1, finding a property. Step number 2, funding that property. Step number 3, fixing up that property if it needs to be fixed up. Step number 4, finding a tenant for that property. Step number 5, finding long-term financing. And then once you've done all of those 5, then it goes into the next letter, which is M, which is managing the property. So let's go into each of those steps now. Number 1, finding a property. All right, so there's different ways of doing it. You can either find the property yourself or you can have somebody else find the property for you. So if you find it yourself, you're probably gonna need to do some advertising. You can either send out letters, or you can do bandit signs, or you can do door knocking, or you can do pay-per-click, or there's all sorts of different ways that you can use in order to find a property. Now, you're going to spend probably a lot of time working on trying to find that property yourself. Other people decide, you know what, I use my time to do other things, like maybe I have a job and I can't really use my time to try to search for properties. And so I'm willing to pay somebody to do that for me. A couple of great people that can find properties for you are realtors and wholesalers. So you can reach out to different realtors that you either know personally or some in your area and just let them know what kind of property you're looking for, and they can start looking for properties for you. And if you want to buy properties under market value, you can let them know, hey, I'm looking for a property that needs to be fixed up, maybe one that the seller doesn't want to put on the market. And so then you can go ahead and try to get a property that way. And so you can request from the realtor to bring you those types of properties. Or you can connect with a lot of wholesalers in your area. And you can find wholesalers through either Google searches or from meetup groups or other things like that, where you can get on their lists. And wholesalers are the ones that go out and they do a lot of that boots on the ground work for you. They do a lot of that marketing and talking with sellers and getting properties under contract. And they'll do all of those things, and then they'll go ahead and they will sell you the contract. And so that's another great way of finding properties. Right now, I'm purchasing probably 50 to 70% of my properties are found through wholesalers. So again, a great way of finding properties. So number 2 is funding the property. Now you can either fund it yourself or you can have somebody else fund it for you. So if you have a lot of money in savings, you can go ahead and use that money and you can buy the property and you get it fixed up, and then you can either just keep the property without a loan, or you can work with a bank and get a loan later on the property. Or you can either have a hard money lender or private money lender help you fund the property. So I created a video with a hard money lender, and I'll put that video in the notes below, and you can watch that video to learn about working with hard money lenders. Or you can use a private money lender. A private money lender might be a family member or a friend that has money, and you can either maybe partner with them on a deal, or you can just have them lend to you on the deal and you can give them a good rate of return. So those are different ways of funding the initial purchase for the property. And the reason we would either use a hard money lender or private money lender in order to fund the property is because we want to buy the property under market value, fix it up, and then get a long-term loan after it's already fixed up. That way it can help us not need to leave as much money in the property as we would have to if we were to just get a bank loan on the property from the beginning. Number 3, fixing up the property. Now, some of the properties you get may not need a whole lot to fix them up. Maybe they just need a really good cleaning, or maybe we just need to get a handyman to come in there and just do a few little fixes, and that's it. That's awesome. So you can either rehab the property yourself And in order to do that, you need to have the skills and abilities and the time in order to do that. Or you can pay somebody else to do it for you. And you can either pay contractors, or maybe you manage the project yourself, or you can pay a project manager to come in and manage the rehab for you. And then you can just get tradesmen to come in and do specific things, like you can get a roofer, you can get a painter, you can get somebody who does flooring. And rather than paying a general contractor to manage that all for you, again, you can either manage yourself, or you can get a project manager to come in and manage just the subcontractors. And that works pretty well. In fact, that's what we do mostly. Rather than hiring general contractors now, we just go ahead and use our subcontractors for most everything. Number 4, finding a tenant. So there are different ways of finding tenants for your properties. You can either find tenants through putting ads on Craigslist, or you can go onto Facebook groups and list your property for rent. A lot of what we do is, my partner Jason is a realtor, and so he has access to post a rental on the MLS. So that rental goes out to a ton of different people. So a lot of times we'll have him do that, or we'll go onto Zillow and we will post the rental through Zillow as well. So those are some main ways that we do it, but also through word of mouth, just letting other people know that you have a rental. And right now, there's so many people that are looking for rentals. It's a lot easier to rent your property now than it usually is. Number 5, finding permanent financing. Now, this can be a difficult process. In fact, this is the part of the business that I spend the most time doing, because I hire out people to do the rehab, I find properties through wholesalers, and I have Jason find the tenants. But what I do mostly is I work with bankers in order to get long-term loans on our properties. So I have to have all of my paperwork all organized, send it to the bankers, and they look through it all and they determine whether or not they want to lend to me. Again, it's a long process, and I work with multiple banks because I haven't found a single bank that's going to meet all of my financial needs. So because I have a lot of different types of properties, including mobile home parks, multifamily, and single family, I need to have a variety of lenders that can lend on the different projects that I'm doing. So this process can take a good 3 to 6 months just to get a loan refinanced. So that's a very important part of real estate investing, building good relationships with banks in order to get long-term loans. And the last one, number 6, is managing that property. Again, you can either manage it yourself, or you can have somebody else do it for you. So if you manage it yourself, a lot of people are really afraid of managing the property themselves because they think, I don't want to be called at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's a toilet leaking. Well, granted, that does happen sometimes. And it's so funny because it usually only happens on holidays. So they will call you and say, hey, I know it's Thanksgiving, or hey, I know it's Christmas, but our toilet's not working. Oh boy, that is frustrating, but it happens. Now, it's really not as big of a deal as you think it is, because as long as you have developed good relationships with a lot of tradespeople, then you can just go ahead and send a text to your plumber, or maybe you have 2 or 3 different plumbers that you're using. And it's always important to have a couple of different plumbers, because plumbing seems to be the biggest, scariest issue for a lot of people. So if you can have a few plumbers that are able to help you, then you just send a text out and say, hey, I have this property. This person needs, saying that the toilet's not working or whatever, or there's, sewage coming up through the tub. We've had everything happen with plumbing. So it's really important to have good plumbers. So you just send out a text and see if they'll go and take care of it. But that's basically what you do. So you have this list of trades. If they contact you, you just go ahead and send a quick text to to the person that goes and takes care of those things, and then they'll bill you for it, and that's just what you do. Now, if you don't want to worry about managing a property, then you can have somebody else do it for you. So you can either hire a property management company to manage your property, and they're probably going to charge you about 8 to 10% of the monthly rent in order to manage that property for you. And they're also going to charge you for other things such as maintenance, or they're going to charge you for leasing up the property again. So there's a lot of different charges that you might get having a property management company manage it for you. But it also takes you a lot less time, and you don't have to worry about it. They already have the tradesmen in place in order to go and fix up the property. So that might be a route to go, is just a property management company if you want it to be a more passive investment. Or you can have an assistant help you manage the property for you. And that's one thing that we do, is we have an assistant that comes and manages a lot of our properties for us. And so it is very low time consuming for us personally, because she goes and she takes care of everything. So that's another person that can help you manage the property. So now that you know the 5 F's and the 1 M, you can ask yourself this question: how good am I at each of these areas? And if you're looking at it and you determine, you know what, I really need to get better at finding properties, then you can focus on learning more about just finding properties. Or you might say, you know, I don't feel very confident in managing properties. So then you can go ahead and focus on developing better property management skills. Or you might say, you know what, I really need to get better contractors. So if you're new, I would encourage you to just choose some of those areas and really focus on those areas so you can get better at those areas. So that's a way of breaking down how to invest in real estate. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. Like always, I ask you to go ahead and subscribe to the video if you've gotten any good value out of it. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope that you have a fantastic day. And good luck in getting started real estate investing.